I'm Erin Valdez, and I'm Education Policy Director at Texas Public Policy Foundation. Lately, it seems that apprenticeships have been in the news as students are looking for ways to achieve success outside of or in addition to the traditional four-year college pathway. Today, we are excited to talk about this important topic with the chairman of the Texas Workforce Commission, Bryan Daniel. Commissioner Daniel, welcome to TPPF.
Well, Erin, thank you so much. It's great to be here. Looking forward to our conversation.
Likewise. Well, before we get started, I thought I'd ask, what was your first job?
Oh my goodness, that's a good question. So, when I was a young kid, I had to take swimming lessons at what was then called TSTI, Texas State Technical Institute. We know it as Texas State Technical College. Now, they had a campus in Harlingen, so I'm from San Benito, Texas. And I had to take swimming lessons to do something, and I noticed that the lifeguards all had a patch on their swim shorts, and I wanted one of those patches. It had a red cross on it, said lifeguard. I had to have one of those. So I made all the inquiries, and I found out that you can train to be a lifeguard. So I asked my parents if I could start training. I didn't realize, I didn't really understand it. You had to take several courses, but I took enough of the courses, and I got that patch. And I thought, okay, this is my career, because I loved water sports. We grew up, just a few miles from South Powder Island. We went there all the time. I had already, as a young kid, started boogie boarding and had learned to surf. And I thought, I can fund my surf lifestyle by being a lifeguard. And I've got this patch. And then they're like, we got a lot more classes that you got to take. So I started taking those classes. I remember one of them, we had to jump in the pool with a sweater on and get rescued. I'm like, why would anybody have a sweater on in the water? That doesn't make any sense to me. And I got the next patch and the next patch and the next patch. And then all of a sudden, I was a certified lifeguard. And then my parents decided to move.
Oh.
And all of my training, I had to reskill completely. So my very first job was supposed to be lifeguard to fund my surfing lifestyle, and ended up being farmhand. I did all manner of farm work as a young man, but I just kept up that idea that one day I might make it to be a lifeguard. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm still waiting for that lifeguard position. So if somebody's watching today, I may have to redo some courses, because that was nearly 40 years ago, but I'm ready. I've got the experience, got the training, I'm ready to get it done. My very first paying job, though, I did a lot of paid farm labor for friends of the family, for my parents. My very first paid job, as far away from lifeguard as you can get, I was a fry cook in a truck stop, and that was my very first hourly wage that I earned. $3.50 an hour was the minimum wage.
It's a
then.
princely sum.
It was back then.
Absolutely.
Plus, I got, if something didn't get sold out of the kitchen, we were allowed to make a little plate for ourselves at the end of the shift. So
That's a bonus.
I'm still holding out for that lifeguard deal. Water sports are absolutely critical. It's good. It's good outside time. I've taken my kids we've surfed in California, Hawaii, different places. They love it too. If you don't live right by the ocean, you don't ever really get good at it. But
Right.
The truth be told, I think it does run in families, because my daughter was a lifeguard for the city of Georgetown. So I think
Wow.
maybe I passed that down to her. I hope. I don't know.
I love that. It's funny, the story you just told us really illustrates, I think, the adaptability that our workforce is going to have to sort of embody going into the 21st century. And so we're actually here today to talk all about apprenticeships and their role in helping workers either start their career or transition careers. And so one of the great things about apprenticeships is that they also help employers, right? Employers are clamoring for them. What motivates an employer to seek out an apprentice or create an apprenticeship program? What do you see?
Yeah, there's a couple things going on. So you always need skilled labor, and apprentices are kind of the ultimate in skilled labor, because generally speaking, we're talking about some kind of credential or certification that is probably in high demand, and one that requires some length of time for training. Those are what really make apprenticeships work very well. So in your mind, you might be thinking about like maybe some craft trades like plumbing or electrician or something like that. Although there are literally hundreds of apprenticeships out there. I think employers like apprenticeships because they get to participate in that long-term training, and they have a very hands-on idea about what that training, particularly the field training, the laboratory training, really looks like. But the other thing apprenticeships really do for employers is it lets you start introducing that candidate
Mhm.
to your company culture,
Mhm.
and they absorb from your older, more experienced, more longer tenured workers those good things about your company culture that make you a great place to work. I mean, you're probably a fairly small business, in real terms.
Mhm.
Even if you have 100 employees, you're still not a huge business. And using apprenticeships is just a bona fide way to get people who are motivated to do
Mhm.
something, but they need an income in
Mhm.
order to get the certificate they need, so they can get that from the apprenticeship. You can introduce your company culture, and what you have at the end is someone who truly understands how the work gets done. They have the technical skills to do the work, and they already get along with their other teammates because they've been training with them.
Well, that's fantastic. We see the benefit of that with our internship program and other
Hmm.
programs that we run. So, put this in context for me. Texas seems to have a good problem in the sense that we've got lots of jobs and maybe not enough workers to fill them or to fill the right kinds of jobs. Would you kind of walk us through Texas's labor market right now and what makes it special and what the opportunities are?
Sure. Last snapshot we took, which is it's going to be at the end of October, is where the numbers end. We'll be releasing the November numbers here in a week or so. The last snapshot we took would tell us that we're at an all-time high for the number of people who are working in Texas. We are at record-breaking number of jobs in
Hmm.
Texas. We had a 24-month uninterrupted period of job growth over the last 2 years.
Hmm.
We have seen the number of people who are looking for work kind of stabilize. Our unemployment rate hasn't changed in a few months now, which shows us that people are still very energized about the workforce. So we're setting records in terms of the number of people working, the number of people working in jobs. We're setting records for our growth. We lead the nation in growth. We're the number one state the last couple months in terms of overall job growth over the last year. And we've had a couple of instances where we were the number one state in month over month job growth. It's a ton of growth. Let me put it to you another way. We've added 1 million jobs since the pandemic. And if you look all the way back to 2015, there's another 1 million jobs in there as well.
Mm.
So just in, let's say, the last 10-year
Mhm.
period, Texas has added somewhere around 2 million jobs to the economy. That's a high growth economy.
Mhm.
Now, I liked your question
Mhm.
because you said it the right way. Most people would look at the labor market and say that, oh, well, you have more empty jobs than you have people willing to work in
Mhm.
them. But that's not what you said
Mhm.
because it's not true. What we're really seeing is that the numbers, we've got
Mhm.
about 720 or so thousand jobs that are listed to be filled that are unfilled in the state. And we've got about 620,000 unemployed people.
Mhm.
Now, in simple math would say,
Mhm.
how can you have 720,000 unfilled jobs
Mhm.
if you got 620,000 unemployed people?
Mhm.
Well, that's where everything we're talking about is coming into play. They don't have the skills for the jobs that are open.
Mm.
Now, I do need to like take a couple minutes of your time though, because I want to talk about this because I really want people to dwell on this point.
Mhm.
We call that a skills gap
Mhm.
because essentially they don't have the skills for the jobs that are available to them. And they may not have the skills for any of the available jobs
Mhm.
that are in the marketplace. It's easy to assume that they didn't learn what they needed to learn in school,
Mhm.
whether that's public school, private school, community college, university,
Mhm.
public university, private university. It's easy to assume they didn't learn something, but that's not actually what happens. What happens is people learn a snapshot of what's needed for their industry when they're in school and they go to work.
Mm.
But the marketplace changes.
Mhm.
I mean, in 2004, we didn't even know the iPhone was coming. By 2007, we needed app developers that we didn't even really understand what they were going to be developing because
Mhm.
the marketplace changes.
Mhm.
And so what happens is we don't really need to assign why, but what does happen is people stagnate in their
Mhm.
professions, particularly if they're in a stagnating field.
Mhm.
And then they wake up one day, they're not working.
Mhm.
They don't really have the skills for the hot jobs, the new jobs, the
Mhm.
jobs that everybody's looking at. But truthfully, they're one or two classes,
Mhm.
one or two certifications away from moving from this unemployed column to a job that's probably paying pretty well, probably got some upside potential, and it's got some opportunities for them for future growth. But they're going to have to do something right now to kind of change their skills position relative to the marketplace. It's a great time to do that. We're adding a lot of jobs. Employers are very satisfied
Mhm.
with the opportunities that they're getting here in
Mhm.
Texas. Barring some sort of global or national kind of recession, which we watch carefully, but we can't predict.
Mhm.
The Texas economy seems primed to continue that growth.
Mhm.
These are not all entry level jobs.
Mhm.
There's a lot of mid level jobs and a lot of advanced jobs, and the salaries for some of these are pretty good. So if I'm unemployed in Texas
Mhm.
right now, I think what I do is I contact the Workforce Commission, my local workforce board, or even my local community
Mhm.
college and say, what's available in our area and what kind of classes do you have for me to take? Because odds are very good that they're going to look at you and say, these are the jobs, this is the course, this is the certificate, and we can get you started right away. So it's if you're not working, I get it. That's tough. And you're looking at these jobs that are open and thinking, I can never get
Mhm.
there. That's where you're sitting. Where I'm sitting, I'm saying, I'm positive you can get there. You're going to have to do some things for yourself. But there's a lot of people that are actually lined up and ready to help you do that. I think that they'll find it's a pretty quick process.
That's great news. When you're touring the state, and I know you tour the state all the time, that's a big part of your job. You listen to employers of all the different sectors across our big and growing and dynamic state. What are the specific obstacles they see in identifying those workers? And you've already addressed a little bit how they can be solved, but what are you hearing from them
Yeah.
specifically?
Employers tell us a couple things. One of the things is that there 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 will be acute shortages of
Hmm.
workers. So when someone's really hiring truck drivers,
Hmm.
and if there's more than one company, that'll change the marketplace for truck
Hmm.
drivers. The same would be true for almost any kind of worker who has a particular license or a particular skill.
Hmm.
So where you see a particular workforce area, if there's one or two kind of hot jobs, there's constant pressure on that.
Hmm.
There's always a need for more.
Hmm.
Some employers will solve their short-term problem by going and getting their competitors,
Hmm.
drivers for another dollar an
Hmm.
hour or something like that. And those kinds of short-term disruptions, we hear complaints about that,
Hmm.
but it's just the nature of business,
Hmm.
and they kind of understand that. I think where they get more concerned is where locally they feel like the numbers of workers in either in their field or craft trades where they need to build something to grow,
Hmm.
where they're worried about finding people to do
Mhm,
that. So
mhm,
it could be almost anything. If you're advanced manufacturing, you're obviously worried about finding manufacturing line workers, but you're also worried about electricians, plumbers, et cetera,
mhm,
because
mhm.
that's who's going to build your next line or something
Right.
like that. And so it's always sort of this notion of, okay, like right now, I wish I could hire more of this or that,
Mhm.
but the conversations tend to move quickly to, but I need to grow in the future. I need to know about that, which is that gives us time
Right.
to get the infrastructure put in place. One more thing about that, because it's a actually a pretty heavy question. The number one thing we hear from them are the perceived lack of soft skills
Mhm.
in a lot of new workers.
Mm, mm,
The ability to work with people on
mhm,
teams, the customer service
mhm,
skills, and I think employers really think about that. I think sometimes they take for granted that people will just pick that up in
mhm,
school or at home or elsewhere.
mhm,
And that actually, I have that conversation more than I have any particular field or any
mhm,
particular certificate or any particular, college degree, is this notion that yeah, there's people with the technical skills I need, but they
mhm,
don't have the people skills that we're looking
mhm,
for. And so what that would tell me is if I'm an aspiring engineer or I'm
mhm,
an aspiring accountant or I'm an aspiring electrician or plumber, employers hold your ability to work with others, to work with customers, at least as important as where you got that degree or where you got that certificate or
Mhm.
what you can do with it. And so I think people who are entering the job market or looking to improve their position
Mhm.
in the labor force, we probably want to think about how to move that forward. And if we have those skills, how to talk about that better.
Yeah.
Because I think many employers that I'm talking to are putting those kinds of people skills, soft skills is what they call
Mhm.
them. They're putting those on the same shelf with the technical skills
Mhm.
that we tend to think of as being necessary to get a good job.
Wow. It strikes me that one of the things that teaches you those soft skills is working.
Absolutely.
You mentioned your first job, service industry kind of job. That was my first job as well, frontline worker, dealing with the public. Right? Do you think that there's an opportunity for more students to understand, in addition to building all their academic skills, that having a part-time job, even if it's a service industry job, right, actually is an important part of their portfolio for their professional career?
I do. I think that really for any young person, no matter what
Hmm.
career you're thinking about, you really need to get an understanding of how well you work with
Hmm.
people. So my oldest daughter's in law school. She's about to graduate in May. And in between her undergraduate education and law school, just that summer,
Hmm.
she waited tables at a
Hmm.
restaurant there in Georgetown because I had told her, go wait tables. You can
Hmm.
make decent money, but you're gonna like really figure out how to work with people.
Hmm.
My youngest daughter has worked a couple of retail
Hmm.
jobs similarly. She graduates in May also from Texas Tech, and those retail jobs really teach you about customers and what they're thinking. I was a cook in a truck stop. My next job was selling women's shoes at a Nike factory store, and then I sort of went, from like my real career after that. But it's like, until you've sort of dealt with someone whose eggs aren't quite right, they said over easy, and they didn't like the way you made your over easy eggs, and learning a diplomatic way to kind of balance the needs of the customer with the needs of the employer, and the fact that I'm not going to cook your two eggs 9 times until you think they're perfect. Uh, Finding a way to balance all of that, particularly when you're 18 years old,
Hmm.
because I mean, I don't think very many of us are that diplomatic when
Right.
we're 18. Your question's a good one though, because I do, if I was going to hand out advice to younger people or parents of younger people, we get them, particularly when we know our kid or we think our kid's going to go to college. We want to do everything to build that resume for
Hmm.
college. And sometimes we forget about the fact that some of those life skills and people skills are just as important. There's not a place for those on the college application, but I think it's good sometimes for our kids to really go do that. It could even be volunteering at the
Hmm.
food bank,
Hmm.
at doing a job at we have a little place in Georgetown called the Caring Place. Volunteering there and helping people that way. It doesn't always have to be working at the restaurant downtown.
Well, this has been very, very good to put all of this in context, I think. One of the things that we see in terms of apprenticeships in the state, we know what a great opportunity that is for employers and employees. We don't see that many completed apprenticeships in Texas, at least of the registered variety. What are you at the Texas Workforce Commission doing to increase the access to work based learning and apprenticeships, broadly speaking?
Yeah, apprenticeships, particularly the registered
Hmm.
apprenticeship process. So when we say registered,
Hmm.
it means that you're going to have to get registered with the Department of Labor. So that's a federal
Hmm.
agency, and as you can imagine, with a federal agency, there's a process.
Hmm.
A lot of paperwork, and I used to joke. I worked for the federal government for a little while. We used to joke that the Paperwork Reduction Act meant that you were going to use your paper, not my paper. And now it's all digital, but it's still like a lot of forms to fill
Yeah.
out. And I think off the bat, I think that really discourages a lot of employers
Hmm.
because nobody wants to do federal red tape. Like
Yeah.
I totally get
Yeah.
that. It can be worth it though,
Hmm.
because so many people recognize the kind of the power of that federally registered apprenticeship. I'll
Hmm.
give you a good
Hmm.
example. If you're hiring automotive
Hmm.
technicians, and there's not a dealership out there that doesn't need more mechanics,
Right.
if you're hiring automotive technicians, federally registered apprenticeship tells you that it's going to be SAE certified, that they're going to have the requisite skills, and that when you get people out of that apprenticeship, You're just going to have to teach them Ford or Mercedes
Mhm.
or Chevrolet or Toyota or whatever you're
Mhm.
doing. And so that registered designation, I think, gives your particular apprenticeship, whether you're a school or a community college or just a private committee, it gives you kind of this recognition for what you're
Mhm.
doing. But there are alternatives to that
Mhm.
as well. The registered designation also gives you a little bit of access to some training
Mhm.
funds, particularly where we can jumpstart something,
Mhm.
particularly where we can jumpstart something that really hasn't been done before.
Mhm.
So there are there's some value to the registered designation just in terms of how people would view the strength of your apprenticeship
Mhm.
program. It does open up a little bit of funding for the instruction side of that,
Mhm.
so that can be helpful because we want to see them get off the ground. And
Right.
there's a little bit of money, and it's federal money. There's a little bit of money to help you fill out your forms to get that registered designation
Mhm.
because I think even the Department of Labor figured out, this is like really burdensome, and an
Mhm.
employer, they're just not. I
Mhm.
mean, they're going to put their resources and effort into something else,
Mhm.
and if we really want them to do it, can we take some of the cost off of them? And
Yeah.
I mean, I get just as I get concerned about taxpayer money being spent on things, but these types of things, these are investments. This is all going to net more apprentices, which is going to net more folks for the Texas workforce. And so I really view these as less about kind of grants that people can get and more about investments that we would make in educational institutions and
Mhm.
classroom learning
Mhm.
situations, and then just opportunities for people to do that. So the registered has its place,
Mhm.
but here in Texas, we're lucky. I hope we get a chance to talk today about our
Mhm.
state program
Yes.
because I think some things we're doing to combine the two are going to give us, I really do believe, an opportunity to increase our success rate in getting those apprentices ready to go into the workforce.
Well, I'm glad you brought us there. That's what we want to make our audience aware of is that Texas Workforce Commission is never settling on the laurels, right? You're always going out there and finding an innovative solution to you know actually helping more Texans prosper. So if you wouldn't mind kind of walking us through a little bit about what you guys have done in terms of increasing the different kinds of earn and learn
Mm.
opportunities, whether those are registered apprenticeships or other kinds of opportunities.
Well, so we look at lots of different ways to do
Hmm.
this, and if we're talking about apprenticeships proper, I've really encouraged the crew at TWC to stop thinking in terms of whether it's a federally registered
Hmm.
apprenticeship or one through our Texas Industry
Hmm.
Recognized Apprenticeship Program, which is a really new program at TWC. We just need to be thinking in terms of apprenticeship Texas.
Yes.
Like, what's the most efficient way we could get someone into an apprenticeship program where they could get a good credential
Hmm.
that would let them work in the field that they
Hmm.
want to work in?
Hmm.
Realizing some of these are 6 months,
Hmm.
some of these are 4 years. It just depends on what you're trying to do. And so we just need to figure out from the Texas Workforce Commission side is how do we make this the most efficient process for both the employee
Hmm.
who's going to be the apprentice and the employer who will be working through the apprenticeship
Mhm,
program. So if we stop thinking about it in terms of, oh, well, this is federal or this is
mhm,
state,
mhm,
what you end up with is just making sure that it's the right fit. But we're very excited. We're very excited about some of our opportunities through this Texas Industry Recognized Apprenticeship Program. Um, the I mean, it was just enacted in 2019,
mhm,
and we were able to in the session and regular session here in 2023 get some funding put in that to offer at the state level for employers something that is completely comparable to the federally registered system.
mhm,
It's at the state level.
mhm,
We can get all the same types of benefits to the employer and to the employee, um, but I think we can move probably that much more efficiently
mhm.
because we don't have this extra level of getting it registered at the federal level. So excited to implement a new
Yeah.
program to be sure,
Mhm,
but it just adds to our ability to be able to do that. And then if we kind of push back through that
mhm,
and we think about it,
mhm,
internships, which is not the same as an
mhm,
apprenticeship, And if we just think about upskilling and reskilling opportunities that are specific to a particular employer, oh my goodness, you've got opportunities through the Skills Development Fund. You've got some opportunities through a new program that deals with the Texas workforce. Um, you've got opportunities to get high school equipment through the JET program up to par, all of which lead to many more upskilling and reskilling opportunities. So you've got this kind of full menu of things that you could do. Full on apprenticeship, perhaps an internship just to get your foot in the door of a
Mhm.
particular industry, or you're in an industry and you need to make the move up. You just need a class or
Mhm.
two, some upskilling, reskilling opportunities.
Mhm.
So all of these work together.
Mhm.
Some employers will do all, some will do one. It's really up to you. It's your business. You should figure out what's going to work best for you. We'll try to make sure we can help you as best we can.
One of the things that I'd like our audience to know about is that, TWC is kind of leading by example here. So your agency, you saw a gap in your IT team, I
Yeah.
believe, and so you tackled it head on by growing your own. What are some lessons you gathered from that? It wasn't really an experiment, but a pilot
hmm
project internally, that you hope that other employers will learn about.
Absolutely. We did an IT apprenticeship program. We're finding that many IT workers don't actually require a university degree
Hmm.
anymore. A lot of community college credentials really work well in that space. We have a unique problem at
Hmm.
TWC. We have some systems that operate on computer languages that are 30, 40 years old, and we have a lot of systems that operate on Python or Mojo or some of the newer languages. And so we have this IT workforce that kind of stretches over 2 or 3 generations depending on what we're working on. And I'll be real honest with you, government IT workers, we're priced out of the market.
Hmm.
We really don't have the ability to offer the salaries that the private companies are doing. I think there's some benefits to government work. Salary's not going to be one of them, and so we were not getting answers to our job postings.
Hmm.
So we said, you know what? Maybe if we enroll people in an apprenticeship program, put them to work with our experienced
Hmm.
employees, let them learn our systems as they get the certifications that we need, then they'll
Hmm.
be ready to go. All but one completed the apprenticeship program, and that person did not complete because they took a job somewhere else. They left the program to go work, which, okay, if you get a good opportunity, you should take that good
Hmm.
opportunity. The rest completed. Many of them are still working at TWC. What we knew going in is that we would have these really good employees that other people were going to come try to hire.
Hmm.
And Heather Hall's our IT director, wonderful leader, wonderful, wonderful team lead, division leader over there. She's worried about that.
Hmm.
And I just told her, I said, like, if you're doing a good job,
Hmm.
and you will, you know, they're going to leave. Other people are going to want to hire them.
Hmm.
And I said, so do a good job making the apprenticeship program work
Hmm.
because we will probably have multiple runs of this as
Yeah.
people get hired away and go elsewhere.
Hmm.
And if the Workforce Commission can't dedicate themselves to helping train people for whatever IT work they want to do, well, we probably ought to rethink our position. I think we do have a role to kind of train people for others to
Uh-huh.
do. But if they want to stay and work for us, and a lot of them have, we've got wonderful opportunities. Others will go to other state agencies, great opportunities there, and some will enter the private sector. And I encourage them to do that. Get the best job you can, get the one that gives you the most meaning, gives you kind of everything you're looking for. We're blessed to live in Texas at this moment where we have choices, so we should kind of take those while we can.
I love that. Well, another thing our audience should know is that you at TWC do something unique. You put out a video. Was it weekly? Is it how often?
Weekly,
Weekly.
yeah.
It's quite remarkable. I encourage you all to go check that out. And one of the things I've noticed in that is that you have a very fun relationship with your employees, and it kind of gets us back to what we were talking about at the beginning. It's that culture piece. So you've had some fun with your summer interns before, and tell us a little bit about how that acculturation piece works at your workplace, and some of the best stories you have from your
Oh my
interns.
goodness. Oh well, our intern program is pretty robust. we do a summer legal internship.
Mm,
So most of our interns that come through my office are or want to be soon to be
mhm.
attorneys, and they'll work on various lawyers. I'm not an attorney, but they'll work on lawyer stuff, and but I'm there. So
Yeah.
I do this weekly video series on LinkedIn,
Mhm.
and it's actually pretty exclusive to LinkedIn. I'll dump it over on YouTube after a week or two, just as a great place to archive them. But I I started this in 2021.
Mhm.
Honestly, coming off the pandemic, the labor force was coming back to really strong numbers. I felt like we just had to stay with it. It would get itself where it needed to be. It did. I said, but like we need to be like all anybody wants to talk about is pandemic,
Mhm.
and there's like a lot of other stuff to talk.
Mhm.
So I started just doing this weekly 2 minute, 2.5 minute video where we would just talk about something at TWC. And the first 6 months of that, because we've done this every Thursday since the first part of 2001, February 1st, the first Thursday of February 2001, every Thursday. And I talk about this program or that program or this or that. About 6 months in,
Mhm.
I'm like, would I watch my own content? Like if I wasn't producing it, would I find this interesting?
Uh-huh.
And the answer is some of it, not all of it. And I thought, what people really love is people really love the zany car dealer commercials
Mhm.
on television. I'm like, I'm gonna do a parody of a car dealer commercial as if I'm selling TWC programs like
Uh-huh.
that. I'm see if people react to this.
Uh-huh.
So I do it, one take, and I watch it, and I'm like, that is zany. Put it out there. So we put it out there, and oh my, like triple the the viewership of anything else I've done. Which it was good.
Uh-huh.
The technical production was good because the cameraman and the sound guy did a great job.
Yeah.
The on-screen guy was learning, and I thought, okay, well, people want to laugh,
Uh-huh.
and that was in like August, September. Anyway, by the end of the year,
Mhm.
we had done Halloween
Mhm.
costumes. My very strong feelings about Zoom. I mean, we really covered a lot of ground, and somewhere during that time, I did a parody of The Godfather where
Yeah.
I named myself the Job Father, and that the engagement on that was through the roof. So I'm like, okay, well, people like movie parodies.
Uh-huh.
So 2022 is just us like, what about this movie? What about
Mhm.
this movie?
Mhm.
And I have a team of 6 people that work directly in my office, and they really have gotten into this. And 2023 has been spectacular. We've had some really fun content this 2023. I'm doing the 24 schedule right now, and it's going to be fun. Y'all
Great.
stick with me. It's going to be fun. Well, anyway, all this is going on, and
Uh-huh.
I'm doing this. Of course, I have I have my real job too, and I'm like, but spreading the word's important. And we get this intern.
Uh-huh.
I'm not gonna say her name. She's an attorney in Florida now, and a great one. But she's kind of like up on things,
Mhm.
and I'm like, what do you think of the video? And she's like, I mean, if you like it, right? I'm like, well, what do we need more of? And she's like, we need like a dance sequence.
Mhm.
And I'm like, I don't dance. She says, well, there's some people on your team that'll dance. And I'm like who? And she's like, well, that guy. I'm like, okay, if he'll do it, y'all can do it. So the video is them trying to teach me this dance, and I'm just not having it. And it's basically about don't be afraid to learn new skills,
Mhm.
right? I'm like this intern, like she's got it going. She's a lot of fun. She's with us all summer. She
Mhm.
leaves. Next summer rolls around. And I'm like I wonder if the intern wants to, like the new intern wants to be in the
Uh-huh.
video. Oh yeah, this new intern, she wants to be in the video too. And so she actually wrote a couple scripts for us, and she wouldn't be in it. She didn't want to be in it.
Yeah.
Which I respect that. That's not what you're there for. And then this last summer, we redid our internship program so that these prospective lawyers would rotate through different divisions of the
Mhm.
agency so they could see more of it.
Mhm.
So I had a relationship with more than just one intern. So I
Mhm.
knew like the whole kind of crew of interns because they all rotated through my office. One was assigned to me, and then the others all rotated
Mhm.
through. Oh my, what a great group of people. And they they asked if they could do a takeover episode where they
Okay.
just did it, and and they got with it. The net result of all that, they did actually. That crew did 3 different videos.
Wow.
I was just there. I provided comic relief. The 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 real point of all this is, um, there's very few places I go now within the government, workforce, higher education kind of setting that
Hmm.
someone doesn't come talk to me about these videos. And it's frankly a situation where what I've convinced myself of is that that's how people get their information. Like
Hmm.
that 2.5 minutes. I've had people say I didn't even know about that, but like I watched your zany video and
Hmm.
I went and Googled that or I went and looked that up on the TBC website, and that's a program we could use.
Hmm.
And it's like, so I'm 3 years in on this. I mean, we're at 150 something, Thursday videos, and at some point, I felt like early on, yeah, we'll do this until I get tired of it, and then
Hmm.
I'll be done with it. And honestly, like we still have good ideas. There's still stuff that just strikes me as funny. If you if you don't like an irreverent sense of humor,
Hmm.
they're clean, they're family
Hmm.
friendly, and
Hmm.
they are in fact safe for work. I am the chairman of the Workforce Commission, but if you want an irreverent take on government mostly and kind of just the silliness that we put ourselves through, check me out on LinkedIn. It's a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun. Tomorrow's video is going to be amazing. So I can say that every Wednesday actually. So
That's awesome. Well, in that spirit, I've gone back and refreshed my memory on a few of these, and we're in the middle of the holiday
yeah,
season. And I know our audience is very focused on what's important right now. And I think the most important question this season is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
no, that's a very serious question,
Yeah.
and I think if you went to all of the kind of sources that we would use to verify that, things like X or YouTube or Facebook or Instagram, I mean, where you have academic,
Uh-huh.
quality research. Um, I think what you'll find is there's mixed opinions
Hmm.
out there.
Hmm.
But let me tell you something I do in my Thursday
Okay.
video.
Okay.
I don't leave the viewers hanging.
Okay.
I'm gonna tell you the truth.
Okay.
Die Hard unequivocally is a Christmas movie. And if you don't believe me, take some time this Christmas season and watch it. You'll see
Well,
what I'm talking about.
I'm glad that you gave that answer. We'll be sure to have you back for more of your takes.
We'll get some thumbs down clicks, I'm pretty sure,
Probably.
but I think you're gonna find there's a lot of people that agree with me.
Amen. Well, thank you for being here with us today. Is there anything you'd like to leave our audience with in terms of how they can find you in addition to your LinkedIn page?
You can always find me at the Workforce
Okay.
Commission. Email me there. Give us a phone call there. They'll find me for you. Look, this is what I would tell anybody. If you don't like your job, if you wish you had another job, if you just wish you had a job, don't sit there and beat yourself up with the woulda, coulda, shouldas. There's actually a whole bunch of people whose job is to help you get what you're looking for, and we don't like to ask the government for help. I don't blame you for that. I feel the same way, and I work there. But these people genuinely want you to be successful, and they will go out of their way to help you. And the number of people that I run into that talk to me as if there's just simply no way
Hmm.
this could happen. It honestly it could discourage me, but it energizes me
Hmm.
because there's actually teams of people that will help. There's community colleges that will help. There are very cost-effective ways to get you this done. Don't sit there and wish. Tell somebody what you want. Tell somebody in our group what you want, and I think you'll be shocked at how fast you can get there.
Well, that's great. Well, thank you, Chairman Daniel, for joining us today. I encourage our audience to check out all the resources he's mentioned for us, and thank you so much for joining us at the Texas Public Policy Foundation.